Hi, I'm Elizabeth Noyce, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
DC TV podcast. There's too many now! Exclamation point. Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no!
Yeah. So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor Boardroom or Ballroom, because
Really? She looks like a boss in this coat.
Is Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series and the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to look back at the season 5 finale because it aired on May 17th, 2020, quite a long time ago. And we just want to make sure we remember what happened in it, because I don't know about you, Morgan, but sometimes I'm like, I kind of don't remember.
The 1 year anniversary of that finale airing is like not even 2 months. Like that's where we are.
So we're going to kind of revisit the season 5 finale and see maybe what we forgot. What are we hoping for to see followed up in season 6? So we'll get to all that, and let us know. We are having some internet technical difficulties. Usually it's me with the internet.
But this time,
but Morgan may be having some connectivity issues. So if she's not coming in real well, let us know. And
I'm looking fuzzy.
Yeah, if she looks fuzzy at all, please let us know in the chat, and
we'll have Kelly put in an IT ticket for us.
I will boot her out, and she can restart her computer, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the internet, is required for live streaming. So we do have a she's fuzzy, so we may have to get you to get out of there. So
no.
we will maybe address some news, and then you can I could maybe. We'll go over some news, and then you can get out and we'll and pick some Morgan. So I guess that's what we'll do, Morgan. I'll go over some news, and then you can get out of here and then try it again. And
during the news or like after the news?
Well, maybe I could take some questions. And some questions from the chat.
Do you want to vamp a little?
I can vamp a little bit because I kind of want to discuss the news with you, because the news is pretty important.
Yeah.
So you get out of here.
Okay.
Restart your laptop.
Gonna do it.
And then come back in. We'll see what happens.
All right. I'll see you all later.
Okay,
hopefully not as a giant pixel.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah. Normally it's me that has the issues, because apparently I can't get what was it called? The fastest internet? Forget what it's, fiber. I can't get it in this area, and it's very annoying. So so we will see how things go with Morgan. But if anybody has any questions or comments, we are going to cover the new teaser trailer that just dropped like not too long ago. I saw that on Twitter, so we'll probably talk about that. We'll talk about the season 6 poster that came out. We have a lot of interviews that came out from Jessica Queller and Robert Rovner. So we will get to those. So please share any of your thoughts on those things. Let's see. Paula says, I approve of Rebecca's background with my whole heart. Yeah, I figured since this was a season 5 finale refresher, this is a background with Supergirl. Where is she? Right there. And then Lena in that episode. So it just kind of fit perfectly where I could put myself in between them. So that's kind of what I went with. I try to mix it up for these live streams, do a little bit of different change of pace every time. So let's see. Yeah. So Abby, that's why I chose that is my background. Just wanted to fit the season 5 finale theme. thought we didn't have a lot to choose from, actually. So that I thought that was the best one. Yes. Thank you. Yes, this T-shirt is a DEO T-shirt that you can get in the DCTV Podcast T Public store. You can go to supergirlradio.com, click on the T Public link at the top right of the screen. Everything is mirrored on StreamYard. The DEO, I kind of figured I'd wear that one tonight since they sort of blew up the DEO at the end of season 5. That was a thing that happened. So RIP DEO. That's really, I'm kind of sad about it. I'm going to be honest. So that is disappointing. Yes, and Jamie makes a good point. So we'll talk about this. There's a full trailer tomorrow for season 6. I assume that I don't know. That's weird because isn't Supergirl supposed to be airing in Superman and Lois's time slot? It's weird that they didn't drop the trailer today to do like a 1 week from now. You're going to get the episode, but that's weird. I would have done it like a week in advance, but that's just me. So I guess the teaser trailer was their way of doing that. So we are supposedly supposed to get a full trailer for season 6 of Supergirl tomorrow. So we will get to that when we get to it. Let's see if I can try to bring Morgan in. Let's see. Oh, you're still a little bit fuzzy, but I think it's better. So that's
fuzzy.
You're a little bit, but you're still better.
Okay.
So, I'm going to blame the lab cats because they were up there playing around earlier.
I think they stepped on something. They stepped on the Wi-Fi. Just the waves, the Wi-Fi waves.
So we'll try to go with that because we can hear you pretty well. So we'll go with that since that'll work for an audio podcast too. Let's see. I'm going to take just a couple more questions since I did offer up a Q&A session while you were gone.
Nice.
Just briefly, Katie said, did you like the Snyder Cut of Justice League? Yeah, we're not going to talk about it on this episode of Supergirl. Maybe when Supergirl goes on another TBD hiatus, maybe we can talk about it.
that long hiatus that might never end that is going on.
So we'll need to talk about something. So we might talk about it then. You can also check out my thoughts on it. I'm getting back into contributing to the Justice League Universe podcast. And nice. So we're starting to do our analysis of the Snyder Cut now. So you'll hear some of my thoughts in those episodes, and I'll probably do some stuff on my personal YouTube channel, which you can find. We can plug that at the end as well. But youtube.com/duckmilkprod. I might do a rant because I was really ranty today, like really ranty. And I have a lot of thoughts about how they just shot themselves in the foot, and I can't understand why they did that. But I'll probably do a lot of discussion about the film. I'll probably have a round table of some friends of mine talking about it, and I'll probably talk about the strange situation about how the Snyder Cut like broke all these records and was the big talk of the town. And Leslie Jones was doing like the most amazing commentary on it, and then Warner Brothers was like, "No, we're shutting it down." I was like, "What?"
I wanted there to be more because I wanted there to be like 5 different Batmans at one time. That's all I really want from from life is for Warner Brothers to double down on Batman so much that there's like at least 4 active Batmans, and we were close.
We were so close.
We could have had it all, Rebecca.
So close. Yeah. So I feel really ranty because I don't understand why they don't like making money. This is something that just perplexes, just mind boggling. Anyway, so yes. So Snyder Cut stuff. Look at that for my personal YouTube channel and Justice League Universe podcast if you are interested in that. And did we introduce ourselves? Maybe we should start over. Since we
I'm still Morgan.
Yeah. We did it.
Giant pixel right here.
You look great.
Thank you.
So I guess since we've been talking about some news, but we have a lot of Supergirl news that we could get to. So I guess we should talk about it. So let's get to
the news.
All right, so Morgan, I don't know. They kind of put this out like right before we got on here live, so I don't even know if you've seen this.
I've watched it because it is 5 seconds. It has no information in it, so it's good. I'm all good. I'm caught up.
You are ready to go. I figure we could talk about it just briefly because there's like 2 shots, maybe is what's in it. So this is the CW's way of promoting Supergirl. We can commentate on it.
They're doing a great job. They're really the final season, and then like Lex burns a what does he burn onto the wall?
It's an S shield.
Is it an S shield? Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like an S shield.
Quickly, this whole thing is 8 seconds, and then you see Supergirl's face very briefly. Very briefly, you see a lot more Lex. Don't worry. You know that Lex is in it. And then Supergirl is kind of thrown in for a little flavor at the end.
That sounds right on par.
It sounds about right.
That sounds about right. Oh, and there's the dog. So
it's so beautiful.
How do I stop sharing my screen?
You can't now. We're in this.
Anyway, so that's kind of the big look at that. There's 2 lines of dialogue in that. It's Lex says, "I will destroy her," and Supergirl says, "Bring it on." And it's like, okay, that was real inventive.
I would have liked if it went back to Lex and he says, "It's already been brought in." and then they start like a cheer fight.
That would be a more exciting trailer, I think.
Right? Well, I also like that it was a trailer for the trailer. They're like, the trailer's coming tomorrow. And I was like looking at the calendar, looking up at the screen going, so that's like not even a week before the season starts. That's just a couple of days.
I mean, maybe it's just me, but wouldn't you release a trailer a week before?
At least.
That's what I would do. So that's very strange. But they did release something. So they've finally put out some kind of new video from the season. So we have that. We also have something that we can talk about from season 6. They released there's a poster. The CW shared a poster for the final season on social media. It's very. I'm getting some huge Tron vibes from it, and so I feel like flipping back to our last week's podcast. I think this means that everything that I predicted is going to come to pass. Let's throw a wig on Katie McGraw. Guess what? She's playing 3 parts. You did say Neon Tron.
The Phantom Zone is gonna be like Tron, and does it not look like they're in Tron?
It does look like Tron. So maybe we're onto something.
It looks like if HBO Max and Tron had a baby. Like this is what the poster would be.
To be fair, HBO Max has promoted some things pretty well. This is. I'm not.
You mean better than this kind of promotion?
I mean, it's not that hard.
Better than a trailer that not even a week before the show premieres.
Yeah, and I not to be honest, I'm not a big fan of these kinds of posters where they feel the need to cram every cast member on the show into the poster. They do this with the Flash a lot, and it drives me crazy because to me it's weird looking. Why would you put everyone in? It's weird. It's weird
because Kara's disembodied head is so huge and it's just kind of floating there without any kind of like reference to her body, and it just her in particular, I think, looks a little creepy because like everybody else, you can kind of see where their body at least begins. Like I can see Martian Manhunter's shoulder. Yeah, I can see a little bit of Alex's collar, but for Kara, it's all face. It's all head. She's a giant floating head in this poster. Somehow Dreamer and Brainy have gotten like full body shots in there. Meanwhile, she's just like a floating head.
It is weird. I just don't like the design. I don't like the composition of it. And is it just me, or does your eye like go down to Dreamer? Because that's what my eye does.
It does, because she's like a full complete person.
And kind of in the center. She's a little bit at the bottom, but it's just weird. It's just
also,
weird that
why did they tuck Kelly like into Supergirl's pocket or something? Like up there at the top. Like if you're gonna if Supergirl's gonna be just a giant disembodied head, like at least let her have that giant floaty head moment. because Kelly is just kind of also floating in there. Poor Kelly, she's got at least a little shoulder, but her head is very tiny. And they were just like, where should we put Kelly? Should we put her by Alex? Nah, let's just kind of shove her underneath Supergirl somewhere. No, tinier than that.
It's just very strange to me. Not a big fan of those. I personally like the posters from previous seasons. I think season 3 had a really good one. I think that's the one where Supergirl's like on the ground and like looking up. And then season 4 had that poster where she's in the red sort of flame looking things. It had nothing to do with the seasons, I don't guess.
No,
I guess maybe that was sort of like Red Daughter-ish. I don't know.
Oh.
But at least it was like, the show's about Supergirl, and it had a choice, like it was a stylistic choice. These are just kind of like throw everybody in there as best you can get them in. So it's weird.
Paula has pointed out that I'm wrong, which is not shocking, and that you can see Kara's arms to the side, and they even form a crest shape, which she says she loves. So
what?
If I look,
where's that? I don't see that.
I do see a disembodied arm now. Now, okay. So now that I see the arms, though, I have to say,
okay. Her like superhero pose.
Because but because isn't her costume like? Doesn't she have sleeves on her costume? Why are her arms bare?
No, I think it's the sleeves of her costume. I see
Is
it like
the sleeves? I thought it was like flesh toned, and I was like, wait, now I have more questions.
No, I think you can see like the little stitching of the shirt there. Yeah. So yeah, I think a lot of people had comments about the poster. So let's see what we get into here. Let's see. Tiny Kelly, so sad. That's what Paula says. A lot of people talking about how Kelly is so small. And what's weird to me is that maybe they could, solve this problem of having to force everybody onto the poster. Just give them all individual posters.
Yeah. That would be great.
Something they could do.
Give Kelly her own poster. Give Lena her own poster. Alex could have her. Like everybody gets their own poster, and then Supergirl could just be the main image for Supergirl.
I mean, that's what I would do. Just give them all new character posters for the final season.
Or just give Supergirl something big and exciting in her poster. And like the other characters could be off onto the side somewhere. Like it's possible. I'm not a graphic designer, but it's possible.
Yeah. Donna says maybe it was because of COVID they couldn't shoot new promo photos. I mean, that's possible, but I would think if you were dealing with COVID regulations, a photo shoot would be pretty easy to do because a photographer's going to be a little bit far away from them. I don't think it would be like right up in your. I mean, you got telephoto lenses for that. I mean,
they are shooting the show, which is less COVID friendly than I think being far away and shooting the photos. I mean, I don't mind that I think they are pretty clearly using promo shots from like
a long
last season, maybe
season 2. I don't know if those Lena shots are season 2 or not.
That's good. It very well could be.
It's been a while. Julia puts out maybe Kelly gets shrunk down to pocket size in season 6. Oh, that would be a great tease. In the
my God. And then she like meets like an alien race of like pocket people. And she has to help them with like a pocket problem. Honestly, I'm into that. I like that.
Well,
they make her their pocket queen.
What if she gets shrunken down? She goes into the Bottle City because what we will talk about in the season 5 finale refresher section is that there's some bottle stuff.
It pops up, yeah.
So, I mean, I'd be into that. Kelly going to the Bottle City. I'd be into that.
I would watch The Adventures of Pocket Kelly. Like
Pocket Kelly, season 6.
That would be an exciting storyline for her. Just like to go pocket size and then pop into the bottle like poop.
That I would be so into that. Everybody has to go, save.
That's where the whole gang finally meets Ramakan on his wine on his wine store.
He's in the bottle city. He's in the Bottle City with his winery. Oh my gosh, such a good idea. I think maybe that would be great. So that's the poster for the season. So I don't know if it does indicate Tron Phantom Zone. Let's hope so. Cross your fingers and toes. But that's what it looks like. So we also got some interviews from the Supergirl showrunners, Jessica Queller and Robert Rovner, who spoke to Entertainment Weekly about season 6 and shared some details about Kara's journey, which is, for me, very personally rewarding to read about. They also talked about Lena's entry into the Super Friends and their inspiration for the final season. So Jessica Queller said, quote, Kara is going to really sacrifice her life and put her life on the line to save her friends and humanity. That challenge, she's going to face her mortality in a way we've never done on the show. That's really the focus of the first run of 7 episodes. So it's the first 7 episodes we're going to get before the TBD hiatus. Queller goes on to say it's life or death stakes for Kara, and it's very introspective. So all of the soul searching and taking stock of the past 6 years will happen in the beginning, and then she'll put it all into play in the second half, unquote. So Morgan, what do you think about that? Do you think that could play into some of our other speculations about Kara at the beginning of the season?
I think that it plays into our Phantom Zone speculations pretty well, honestly. I read that and I was like, could we be right for the first time ever? I'm sure we won't be.
Probably
but
not.
It did make me think like, hey, maybe she is going to the Phantom Zone. But when I read this stuff, I was really just mostly heartened to see that they were talking about Kara's journey and where she was going to start, where she was going to end up. Like they were thinking
like a character arc.
Like a thing that kind of goes like this and then around. What's that called? Yeah, I was like, oh, so we're focusing on Kara. Like that made me feel a lot better about this season because we don't have a lot to feel anyway about this season. Let's be honest, we haven't gotten much. This is the first information we've really gotten about this season. But finally, I started feeling like, okay, maybe this is going to be Kara centric. Like maybe we're talking about it from a Kara point of view of where she's going to start, and like the idea of it being introspective and her like thinking about her role in things and facing her mortality. I think that all speaks to some good Kara storyline. So I'm excited about that.
So the facing her mortality is concerning though. So
I mean, yeah.
Especially with all the kryptonite that Lex seems to have that he did have in the season 5 finale, and then I think it's also spilling over into that little teaser trailer that we saw with the kryptonite S shield. So that's a little concerning to me. But I don't know, it sort of reminded me of the reason why Zack Snyder wanted to kill Superman in Batman v Superman is he wanted the character of Superman or Kal or Clark, however you want to refer to him, to kind of go through everything that humans go through, and that would include death. So maybe that's kind of their thought process there is that, for Kara to be, a fully fledged hero, maybe she has to face a little bit of her immortality as well. So that could be really interesting. I don't know if they'll do a Death of Supergirl kind of thing, or if they'll just send her to the Phantom Zone and we think she's dead. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but that's an interesting choice of words there.
Do we think that Supergirl is going to be kind of like separated from the rest of the cast for a little bit of the season, or a little bit of the first part?
I think so, and I would actually not be opposed to that.
No, neither would I, because I feel like that would give them the show an opportunity to focus on her a little bit, at least in her scenes.
Yeah, I would like her to go on her own journey. That would be, I think I would be really into that. Abby makes a good point that it would be tough for Kara to really face her mortality fully because she could just take the grass.
She could just take off her shoes and wiggle her piggies in the grass, and she's on her way, recharging that battery.
So you really have to really make an effort to kill Supergirl because she can just take the grass; she'll be fine. So we'll see what that might entail. Donna says, "Could the death of Supergirl mean she loses or gives up her powers?" Possibly, if she was human and she got mortally wounded, that could be also very concerning.
Yes.
So we don't know, but I think that's a strong possibility.
Rogue Artist here makes a good point, which is there's no grass in the fortress or the Phantom Zone, so she might be in trouble.
You would think that Superman would consider that in his design plans.
Just a little patch of grass in the corner, or like a little greenhouse, like a little grow house in the corner, just all grass on the ground.
Just in case, maybe like one of those, a break glass for emergency or whatever. Like
you break the greenhouse and you run in. I gotta take this grass.
That could be their emergency weapon in the fortress. I'm surprised they don't have anything like that. That's very strange. So that's the quotes that Jessica Queller talked about in regards to Kara in season 6. In terms of Lena, Queller also spoke about Lena Luthor in season 6, saying that, quote, Lena is going to become a more how do you pronounce this? Because I've heard it both.
Integral?
I think I would say integral, but I've also heard people say integral. And I don't know.
I've heard that too.
Integral sounds strange to me, so I'm going to say integral. More integral part of the Super Friends this season than ever before. So I think that's going to be really satisfying and have emotional resonance for her, because she's always kind of felt like an outsider, not just with Kara's secret, but with the whole group. Because they definitely, they brought her to game night, and she's been part of the group. I don't know what her problem is. But Queller also says now that she is going to be a full-on insider, so that will change the dynamic for Lena and the group, unquote. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that it's going to be good to have Lena be part of the Super Friends?
Yeah, I think it's going to be nice to have Lena as part of the team. I think it's going to be kind of weird because we just came from the season 5 finale where they like kind of patched it up really, really quickly after a whole season of Lena being like, I don't like you, and Supergirl being like, well, then I don't like you. And now it's like going to be like episode 2 and they're going to be like best friends again. But on the flip side, I don't want like a huge drawn out like storyline where they have to like slowly make up with each other, because it's been a year and I'm over it, so they should be too. I don't subscribe to the fact that the timeline works different on the show, so I don't know that I'm like would be super excited to watch like them slowly rebuild their friendship. I kind of just want them to go back to being okay with each other, and I think it'll be fun to see how Lena works in the group when there's an emergency. Like we've seen it before where she shows up and she's like, here's a science thing I can do to fix it. But they always have to be like, okay, cool, Lena, could you stay right over there? Whisper, 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 you're Supergirl. And now she can be part of the whispering, which is fun for her.
Yeah, I think they're dynamic in the season 5 finale where Lena protected Kara's secret as Supergirl in front of William. I think she's fully capable of doing that, and so I don't think that'll be a problem for Lena.
What if she starts like really enjoying it, because like now that she's on the inside, like she's just like, oh, we got to keep your secret, right? Like, but like too much. Like she feels bad about what happened last season. She's like, sorry about that killer robot and everything. But so like she goes like too far, and it just starts making everybody uncomfortable.
Just calm down, Lena. It's gonna be fine.
Lena's like, I bedazzled everybody's names on jean jackets. Team Supergirl, right? And everybody's like slowly backing away from her.
She just becomes too needy and too into it.
That would be amazing, actually.
Yeah, Rogue Artist says, I really want some great Alex and Lena doing science. That could be a way that Alex could contribute to them now, because she has seemingly no job, no DEO relationship to the government. So she could be just doing science in the tower. I think that's very possible. Jay also makes a comment. What if Superman appears? I guess this is in relation to our Fortress talk. Appears the last season after they ignore Kara on Superman and Lois. Are they ignoring Kara on Superman and Lois? I just want to talk about this really quickly.
Or does she not exist at all?
There is a Supergirl fan on that writing staff. I don't know who it is, but they have referenced Leslie Lar. They have referenced Stanhope College, and they've referenced X-Kryptonite, which turns Streaky the Supercat into Streaky the Supercat. So I don't think they're ignoring Supergirl at all. They might be ignoring Melissa Benoist's Supergirl, but they are referencing Supergirl on that show.
Can we poach that writer that's really into Supergirl just for one season? Just let us borrow them for one season, please.
I can't believe we're getting more Supergirl comic book mythology on Superman and Lois. It's wild. I can't decide if I'm mad about it or if I'm really grateful about it. I can't decide. It's a weird thing. Let's see. Kenny says, I think Lena has been so overused as a character, has not been great since season 2. That's a fair opinion to hold. I think she was pretty good in season 3 with the Rain storyline with Sam. She did some good stuff there. I think even season 4 with all the Luther stuff, I think she was pretty good with the I'm a big
Lena fan. Miss Desmacher. I'm a big Lena fan. I thought last season was just not even Lena's fault. It was the writing's fault. I blame the writing. Just all over the place
for wanting to mind control the world.
Yeah, that was a down note for her. You know, she was going through some things and like I eat ice cream. She tries to mind control everyone so they're nicer to each other. You know, we all make our mistakes.
Abby also thinks the more important question about Lena is what will she be wearing? We will all be looking out for that because that is important.
I would like it if like her transition onto the team like shows up somehow in her outfits. Like it's like a softer side of Lena. Like she shows up in like a lot of like fuzzy sweaters or something, and she's like, "I'm just one of the gang, guys," and they're like, "What are you doing?" Do
you think she's going to be more like casual Lena?
Maybe more casual. Like maybe she's always showing up in jeans now and sweatshirts, and she's like, "Oh, just me, your friend who never tried to kill you."
I like casual Lena. I'd be into that. So that's kind of what we're getting out of Lena this season. Jessica Queller also talked about the theme of season 6 because we got to have a theme. That's really important to go into the season with the theme in hand. So Queller also mentioned that their theme for the final season, saying, quote, she mentioned the theme of the final season, saying, quote, the theme that we really decided to focus on this year is about power and the abuse of power and the limits of power and from without and within. So including not just our bad guys, which is very easy, but in terms of our heroes making decisions because their power is almost limitless. How do they decide where the line is, unquote? And co-showrunner Robert Rovner explained that they he and Jessica Queller were both inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and how some people felt, quote, somewhat disempowered because of the circumstances that we're all living in with the pandemic. We were trying to reflect on that and kind of try to address what empowers people and what our heroes could do to help both set an example and kind of explore some of the issues that keep people from feeling empowered, unquote. I'm trying to make sense of their power is almost limitless, because that's the fault of the writing, I think, to make them so powerful. Because if you think about Dreamer, because when I was watching the season 5 finale, like rewatching it for this, I couldn't figure out why Dreamer was having issues when she could stop a tsunami with her dream energy. So it's very strange how that power seems to kind of come and go. If your characters are overpowered, that's a you problem.
I feel like that's always been a problem on the show, is that Supergirl is as powerful as the episode or the scene needs her to be. Like, I watch this with my fiance Mike all the time, and he's always like, Supergirl should have been able to take that guy out, no problem. And I'm like, well, the scene needs her to not be able to do that, so she can't right now. That's what you need to accept and like embrace.
Yeah. So I don't know. That makes me wonder if they're going to depower some people, and could that play into Kara's story if she gets somewhat depowered? So I think it's an interesting question to talk about with these heroes, but I also I know we talk about that all the time. I hate the idea that they structured these seasons around a theme. I hate it.
Just let the characters go through experiences and have arcs and tell stories about the characters, and then the themes will come. Like, you can have a theme, but it doesn't all have to be okay, well, now everybody's got to be about power.
There's going to be a word of the episode. You can guarantee it. In the first episode, they're going to drop the word power 5 times. Y'all can count it Let me know, and how many you count up to, because I guarantee you the word power is going to show up a million times in the episodes.
Like, how did technology work out for them? Did they think that theme went great?
I mean, there was technology.
It
In the
existed
episodes.
in the season. We were a little sketchy on why we should care. But it was there. But I just don't feel like it made a cohesive season. Like, they don't have to do it this way, don't they? Do they know that yet?
I don't know. And
I want to like free them from it. I'm like, you're okay. Just tell a good story.
I was trying to think of other shows that I watched that did things like this. I don't know if I know other shows that like write around a theme, because sometimes like themes will pop in, but I remember Lost showrunners talking about they wrote based on like what did the characters want. That's how their stories were driven. But yes, I don't know. I can't think of any other show that does it like this. So it's
Like
kind of strange to me.
Like on Legends, they have sort of a different vibe every season, but that's more like the villains. It's not the characters don't have to tie into that theme, because that becomes very limiting then. Like last season it was like historical bad guys, and like one season it was like mythical creatures, and like this season it's going to be aliens. I have no idea what they're doing with that. But it wasn't like and we're going to really explore how every character actually feels like a mythical creature deep down inside. It's like, what? No, that doesn't make any sense.
That's actually not a bad way to go about it.
Like the overarching story can be about insert, but like the character journey should be about where the character is and where the character is going. I feel like they work so hard to tie that character journey up into the main storyline, and that's where things get weird sometimes.
Because maybe not all the characters have to deal with power. Maybe that's not always the character journey that, I mean,
personally, I hope Kelly goes mad with power this season. She starts logging all kinds of IT tickets that don't even need to be tickets.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like confused about it. I'm like, well, maybe not all the characters need to deal. Maybe Kara could go through that, but not every character has to go through that. Donna wonders if that's related to Lena's abuse of power. Lena's definitely abused some power before. That's been a thing that's been in her character for a while, and probably since the first day she showed up. Let's see. Rogue Artist talks about Martian Manhunter and how he abused his power, mind wiping.
Yeah, he's mind wiped a couple people. That's been a little sketchy. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and Daryl talks about how Kara has lost her powers quite a bit. So that could be something that we could see again if they wanted to go there. So there are things that you could pull into those characters that have to deal with power. But
I was going to say, it also feels a lot of times like they'll announce these themes, and it won't come naturally from like the season that's happened before.
Right.
Where it's like, oh, I can see why they would be tackling this theme this season because last season built up to that. It's just kind of like they pick a theme out of a hat and they're like, power.
Well, they get inspired by the rip from the headlines approach.
They get too into like we're all inside because of COVID, and like how do we like work that into the story? It's like, but you don't actually. It's so what this is Supergirl. It's not Law and Order, so you don't actually doesn't have to be ripped from the headlines.
Is that concerning to you? Because it's concerning to me that maybe they didn't have an idea for the final season until we went through COVID, and then they were like, "Oh, we can use that," instead of thinking before about maybe how they would end the show if they ever got the chance to.
Because to me, as soon as they found out it was the last season, I would think, much like the greenhouse in the Fortress of Solitude, you're breaking the glass there on your, what you had hoped was going to be your final sort of stories that you wanted to tell with these characters. I just worry that there are all these cool Supergirl stories, all these cool Dreamer stories and Brainy stories and Lena stories and Alex stories that they're not going to tell because they don't tie in to the theme of the season.
Yeah.
And so they were like, well, aside they go, but this is the last time they have the opportunity to tell these stories. So I hope that they don't get so tied up in the theme that they ignore what could be, good stories for the characters, because we want to see these characters grow and progress in this last season. We want to know where they end up at the end of the show.
So how does Alex wanting to have a baby tie into the theme of power?
I mean, it's a good question. Maybe the baby is like a really strong baby.
I mean, I'm not gonna, say no to that idea. We know that there are superpowered babies that can exist.
She's like, this baby has too much power.
Maybe it's a metaphorical power over her life now because she's gonna
the baby's lifting weights in the corner, just pumping iron.
So that's a good point, that if you have all these other stories that you possibly could tell and they don't fit in to the theme, what do you do with them? So that is just a strange approach that I don't particularly like, but that's what they use on the show. Paula also wonders if maybe Kara will explore her power as a reporter. I would love that.
Well, yeah, that would be great.
But I don't know. But then what do you do with William? Because he is also a reporter. And so is Nia, who is also a reporter.
Oh, don't worry. Nia doesn't remember that. Kara has trained her well. She's like, no, you don't have to show up at work. It's cool.
No, it's all right. So that's kind of where we are with the themes and possible character journeys that are going to be happening. So, Morgan, do you want to take us into some casting news? Because we have new characters for this final season.
Some extra characters, which is exciting. According to Deadline, actors Jason Behr and Claude Knowlton have joined the cast of the upcoming 6th season of CW Supergirl in recurring roles. Knowlton will play a mild-mannered alien whose tragic past allows him to help the Super Friends with their mission at hand. Behr will portray a famous or noted Kryptonian who plays a significant role helping Kara when she faces circumstances beyond her control. Oh. The character name is being kept under wraps. Now, as a Roswell fan from back in the day, original Roswell, not this new Roswell, original Roswell, I am so happy that Jason Behr is going back to his roots playing aliens. That's what he should always be
Spoiler
doing.
Alert for Roswell.
It's in the first episode. She's like, "Where are you from?" And then he just points straight up, and it's like one of my favorite things. We used to some of my friends. We would be like do the point sometimes.
That's pretty good.
So I'm excited that he's getting back to his roots. If I trust one thing, it's that Jason Behr knows how to play an alien. He's gonna be playing his heart out. Now,
and Behr is on the right here. If you're watching on video,
if you're not a Roswell super fan like I am. Which honestly, go back to the early 2000s Roswell. It is a trip. Now I'm gonna throw down some Roswell spoilers. So if you are afraid of Roswell spoilers from the early 2000s TV show, now is the time to briefly pause the podcast. So at one point, all the aliens on the show, there's a couple of them. There's like 3 of them. They all get dupes. And the dupes are their evil twins. And so no, you would think like, okay, evil twins. Like they go, no, we're gonna make it as far out as we can. So they're all like, they all have piercings and tattoos, and they're all like, hey, it's us, you're dupes, like with like mohawks. And Max's dupe is incredible. He's got like piercings and like really strange hair. And like, so after seeing Jason Behr embody that dupe, the Max and the dupe, there's nothing he can't do.
That sounds amazing.
It honestly was. A lot of people say the dupe storyline was bad. Those people are wrong. Those people could not be more wrong. How could you tell that they're the evil twins if they weren't wearing a lot of eye makeup and have a lot of piercings? Obviously, that means evil. It's so ridiculous. It's like such a ridiculous, like, who are evil? Punks. It's like, really? All right.
That's a choice you're making.
Sure.
Yeah, so I guess we can maybe kind of break down the character description. So a mild-mannered alien whose tragic past allows them to help the Super Friends with their mission at hand. That sounds like a new character because we know that there are lots of aliens on
we do.
on
It's
whatever Earth we are on, because I don't
post-Amadeus worlds that we live in now.
I don't know if it's connected to Superman and Lois. We could be on a different Earth now. I don't know. So whatever Earth we're on, I think this is probably just maybe like a random alien. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Morgan? Do you think it's somebody we might know?
I feel like it's going to be a random alien. I think it would be a good opportunity to bring in like a DC alien from the comics, because it could be any kind of alien. So at least like a DC alien comics race maybe would be fun.
Yeah, I would love it if it was a DC Comics character, but a mild-mannered alien. I don't know if that's a reference to Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter. I don't know if it will be somebody at Catco who is an alien. I don't know. But the second one feels like maybe more of somebody we are supposed to know. Bear will play a famous or noted Kryptonian who plays a significant role helping Kara when she faces circumstances beyond her control. And I was kind of going through famous Kryptonians in my head, and we're kind of running out of them because there's Zod, there's Feora, there is Jax-Ur. There's Leslar, Black Flame. I'm trying to think of something, Jor-El, Zor-El, Allura, trying to think of all those characters. And the only one that I thought might work for this is Zoltar from Supergirl, the movie.
Yes. And it really reinforces our fans. I think for the first time, we might be onto something, because if you read that description, it says that she's helping Kara when she faces circumstances beyond her control. What is more beyond your control than the Phantom Zone? I hope he's Zoltar. I know Jason Bear has range, and he can be asking her if she wants like a little nip of that weird drink that he's got, and she could be like, "No, thank you."
I mean, I think if you're gonna maybe. I'm going to be disappointed now if they don't do the Phantom Zone, because we've mapped it all out. I think.
I know they could just put him in a colorful sweater like Peter O'Toole and just like let him go.
Yeah, so that's the only other Kryptonian I could think of. Rogue Artist is saying, I'm going to look up this character because I actually don't know who you are referencing. A Carter, maybe. This is who maybe some of these people are talking about on Reddit. There's I think there's a comic book that is coming out soon. Carter Ol, CATAR-OL, Kryptonian Hawkman. Oh, I actually
not Hawkman.
I really kind of hope that's not it. I want it to be a Kryptonian connected to Supergirl. I hope that's not. I mean, that's a good pull, Rogue Artist, but I'm kind of I'll be disappointed if that's who that is. But that's not a famous Kryptonian. I don't know who that guy is. I should know people. I don't know who
back in the Phantom Zone. She's got coffee for them. She's a barista again, but she's a barista in the Phantom Zone. She's like Hawkgirl started her own like Starbucks kind of situation within the Phantom Zone. Does that change your mind at all?
Maybe. I was trying to think of how would she keep like the cups and everything? Because like in my mind, the Phantom Zone is like the Dune version, where like everything, like there's wind everywhere, like there's dust flying up. So I was trying to think, how would she have like an espresso machine? Like,
I just imagine her like kind of floating in the air, and like Supergirl's floating by, and she's like, "Cappuccino."
Yeah, so I don't know if that's who it's gonna be or not.
That would be a deep pool, though, wouldn't it? Like you've never heard of it, which makes me think that they definitely haven't.
I've heard of Carter Hall, which I think is another version of Hawkman. But I've never heard of a Kryptonian Hawkman. That's new. I know about Kryptonian werewolves, but I've never experienced a Kryptonian Hawkman. So that is a new one for me. Okay, so Rogue Artist, yeah. Go ahead.
Good question. Have we seen Zor-El in Argo? I mean, Zor-El's kind of from what I knew, Zor-El was kind of like no more.
Did he die? I want to say he died.
I thought he died
because they talked about him like he was dead.
And like her Allura wasn't like, oh yeah, your dad's in there making that gazebo for your friend or something. Like he's not like out back in the shed. It didn't seem like he was around.
Yeah, he did die. Now I'm trying to remember, how did he die? Did he die when he did the when he like protected Argo? Does anybody remember? Yeah, he died saving Argo City. That's
yeah. Daryl says he died saving Argo City. So
I couldn't remember if I was correct on that or not.
Abby said, "What if there's another pod?"
I would dislike that very much.
What if season 6? Every episode begins with a new character arriving via pod.
Well, you know what? Commit if you're going to commit to it.
They're like,
go for
we're
it.
Going back to season 1, full circle, baby. Pods all the way down.
Then we could get some cool characters maybe from that. So I don't know. I would dislike it, but I'm also kind of open to it if you made good choices on who is in that pod.
Yeah, me too.
So we'll see. So maybe it could be Zor-El. I don't know. Maybe he's like back from the dead. Maybe they didn't know he survived.
Maybe he never died and he ended up in the Phantom Zone. Ooh, twist.
I mean, it's not difficult to do this, and I feel like maybe they could take some lessons from our speculations.
I like how I immediately was like, well, wouldn't he be too young for that? Because in my mind, he's the same age as he was in the early 2000s when I watched Roswell, and he has not aged at all, just like I haven't. So we are timeless.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll have to see who this famous Kryptonian is, but right now I have no big speculations other than Zoltar, just because I would love to see Zoltar show up. And I think he would be a good character to bring in to help Kara go for, to face some circumstance beyond her control. I think that would be a good choice there. All right. Well, I guess we could also talk about some season 6 news involving Kyler Lee as a director. She recently spoke to tvline.com about about directing the flashback episode, creatively titled Prom Again, which is episode 6. And Kyler Lee said, quote, "Playing Alex Danvers on Supergirl for the past 6 years has been one of the absolute highlights of my career. Then on top of that, being given the opportunity and honor to direct an episode in our final season is the greatest gift I could have asked for. In turn, I've grown tremendously as an artist in ways only, cannot read, in ways I only imagined, and have found a deep passion to be on the other side of the camera. I'm so grateful for the amazing team that surrounded and supported me, and absolutely loved every part of the process, even in moments I didn't know all the answers and felt a bit in over my head. But I learned that asking for help, especially as a first-timer, didn't make me any less of a leader on set. In fact, it ultimately bolstered my confidence as a storyteller, and greatly appreciate the power of collaboration." She also says, respect for every department that works tirelessly to make great TV, the need for humility, the significance of punctuality, and the reward for making some calculated risks were the biggest takeaways for me. I look forward to the new adventures that lie ahead, unquote. So I'm actually encouraged that Kyler is directing one of the flashback episodes that possibly involve the Danvers sisters.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm really excited for her, and I can't wait to see this episode. I think whenever they have a cast member take over and direct the show, you can always tell because they know the characters, they know the actors, they know what's going to get a good performance out of them, and how they work best and what their strengths are. So I think this is going to be a really good episode, and I'm excited to see what she brings to the directing chair.
Yeah, and if it's about the Danvers sisters, which I think we've got Isabella in this picture that we're showing on the live stream, who plays young Kara, I think that's a real benefit to have Kyler there because she would know that relationship really well. I think she definitely knows Alex, but I think she knows Kara pretty well. So I think that's going to be really cool to see what she brings to the table with a flashback for the Danvers sisters. So I'm actually pretty excited about that because I think that's a really fitting episode to give her to direct because she would do really well with that.
Yeah, I'm excited for a Danvers sister flashback, definitely.
Even though we still don't know why there's prom and prom again.
Is
Is that
so many prom? What if it's a trilogy and at the end of the season we get like prom part 3 or like prom, the final prom?
the final? The final prom. Oh, yeah. So, continue sending us your pitches, your episode titles for the third installment of the prom trilogy.
Yes.
Let's keep that going for a while. That would be great. So that is Kyler information about Kyler directing. So I guess while we're here, since we gathered to sort of refresh our minds about the season 5 finale, because it aired almost a year ago.
Almost
a year ago. So now that we've gotten through some of our season 6 news, we'll kind of jump back a season and take a look back at the end of season 5 to just remember what happened in case everyone forgot, so that we can head into the final season of Supergirl really refreshed and knowing what's happening. So I recently went back and rewatched the finale, and I had forgotten a few things, Morgan, that was really important. And I can't believe that I'd forgotten so many important things. I actually had forgotten until that rewatch that non-Nuceri was a thing. I had forgotten the term.
I forgot what her mind control, like the term for the mind control project. I just kind of vaguely remembered it was mind control. And she was doing that like pretty late in the season, wasn't she? Was she doing that still in the finale?
She was doing it all season. She kind of towards the end of the season ditched it, and she was like trying to stop Leviathan because she realized she had made a mistake.
Was like, wait, am I becoming a bad guy? It's like, did you take over a satellite, Lena? Did you?
Did you try to mind wipe everybody? So that was one of the big things that on my rewatch. I was like, oh yeah, it was called non-Nuceri, and when they started talking about it, I was like, I had to like remember like what was non-Nuceri? Yeah, I had to. I was like, I cannot believe I forgot that. So Lena, just if you had to remember some things that happened in season 5, especially towards the end, Lena did try to mind control the world, and that was that technology, because technology was the theme of season 5, was being used by Leviathan to mind control everybody and kill everybody in the VR. So that it was a thing. I also had forgotten, and somebody can maybe clear some things up about this in the chat if they have some information that I have forgotten. But the Eve Tessmacher that they encounter in the finale was not one, because this is post-crisis. So they didn't really have a lot of interaction with this Eve. This Eve was like maybe a little more innocent. She was like trying to do stuff to save her mom. Do you remember that?
Yes. So she's the one who killed Jeremiah Danvers, though, right? And no one knows that yet still, right?
See, I have forgotten that too.
That was one of my favorite reveals of season 5, and so I held that close in my heart.
So maybe she's not as innocent as I thought she was in that finale, because they were like, oh, we've got to reconnect her with her mom. And it was like this sweet moment that she had with her mother. But no, she was a murderer. She murdered your mind.
I mean, I think she kind of did it under duress, but she still murdered that dude.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was connected, I think, to the mom thing.
Mm-hmm.
That she thought she was like blackmailed into it.
Yeah, they were like using her mom against her, I think, in the post-crisis version of reality.
That's what it was.
That we find ourselves in. I only remember that because the reveal that that they remember Jeremiah Danvers in season 5, and B, that Eve was the one who killed him, was like one of the few things that gave me joy that season.
It was a great reveal, although I hated that they did it off screen. If you're gonna do that, at least give me a good on-screen death.
Yeah, like a really dramatic one, and like you could really like play up Eve as like being like kind of evil, and then she, oh, I'm so sorry I did that, but you must die. Like, come on, like just give me some of that. Donna points out that Eve shot William, a thing I completely forgot.
And we will discuss this in some listener feedback, because there's a really interesting email we got from a listener about the blood spatter from an expert that we will now have to add to our arsenal of expert listeners. So
we have a CSI listener.
Yeah, so we will get to some of that. So I think that we'll kind of table the William thing for now, but that was a thing that happened. She did shoot William. William was kind of also to remind ourselves, Kara had to save William using heat vision to what is the term? She used her heat vision on him to like seal up the wound, I guess.
Like
cauterizing. Yes.
I was like, that feels like the wrong word.
No, it was exactly the right word.
Cauterize, but I can't say what's it.
Cauterizing?
What's the name of the person whose name I can never get? Carmina Burana.
Oh wow, Carmina Burana.
But I could say cauterize, okay, but
Carmina Burana.
See, every time I say it, I sound like I'm sounding it out, like I'm a small child learning to read. Carmina. The mind is a terrifying place that I can remember how to say some things, but like completely lose me. So Kanisha said, I thought Lex tricked Eve into killing Jeremiah, which
I think that's right.
Right? I think so.
I maybe didn't go back to my rewatch far enough. I
feel like then he told her, he was like, oh, well, you just killed Supergirl's dad or something like that. And she was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I think that was something she made. Did she even know it was Supergirl's dad?
That's a good question. I don't somebody in this chat remembers though, I bet.
Does anyone remember this? I guess I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch a whole bunch of episodes before next Tuesday, because I have forgotten some of these plot points. I guess I could go into my Google Docs, but that might take a little bit.
Daryl points out, if the characters don't learn that Eve killed Jeremiah, the reveal means nothing.
That's the thing. Nobody else knows that Eve killed Jeremiah.
Yeah, apparently Eve thought he was somebody else.
Yes, that seems familiar to me.
And it says she didn't. Lex lied to her. So
of course,
yeah, of course,
yeah.
He's like, oh, just please go kill Supergirl's dad real quick for me.
Yeah, so that was a new and different that I'd forgotten all about that. So so were there any other things that maybe that you want to get some answers about? I had even forgotten about the brainy Megan Rath character. She's like that other Brainiac.
Oh yeah, she was like the one of the other Brainiac 5s, and she was like the last one left talking to him, right?
Yeah, she had kind of stayed with him, which was actually a couple of scenes that were really sweet in the episode. Like you could tell that they were brother and sister because they were really kind of digging into that emotion. But I have a lot of questions about like is she gonna come back? Like what's gonna happen with that? Are there are the other Brainies gonna be around? I don't even know if I've still wrapped my mind around all of those Brainies and like
didn't
what the
he
deal
kind of
is.
absorb the other Brainies like a sponge?
Maybe
it's like we're all one Brainy now.
I think that seems familiar to me. Is that in the bottle episode? Is that the episode? Someone, I feel like so. we're just trying to get the listeners to remember things for us because we need to go back and rewatch this stuff. But yeah, that seems right. And so I'm curious if the other Brainies will come back into play in season 6. So I had forgotten some things that were pretty important.
Oh, the big brain, is that? I think that's what they were calling it.
Yes,
it's kind of like a sort of the Brainiac collective unconsciousness is kind of what I was getting out of it. Like we are all in the big brain, but mostly, you're in your body, like the body, but then they were all sort of in this kind of. I don't know, like a data.
He could summon her. Like he summoned her and she appeared. So
I remember that.
Yeah, so I'm curious if they will come into play in season 6. So Morgan, are there any like questions that you had that you wanted to like get a definitive answer to in season 6 that they just like you're going to be so disappointed if they don't give you that answer?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I don't know how much okay, so there's two sides to that question. Are there questions that we need answers to in season 6? technically, yes, from a storytelling perspective. Do I want those answers? Not necessarily. Like, for instance, they set up Leviathan as like this shadowy organization, but they kept referring to like the head of Leviathan. Like, who is she? Who is, like, oh, I'm gonna report you to the head of Leviathan. Like, all this stuff about, she's not gonna be happy when she finds out this, and this. And like, do I care to learn who that is? Medium. But like, should we, from a storytelling perspective, circle back around to that? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling that I'm gonna be disappointed by whoever this is.
I mean, I've already put out my wish list there, and unless they're fitting Katie with that wig right now, I don't think it's gonna work out for me.
Because because there's two sides to that as well. If it's somebody, it almost has to either be somebody we know, so that the reveal will be like shocking. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the twist of Lena Luthor's mother is there. Or it has to be somebody new, and we have to be invested in this person, and we have to care about this person.
There's not enough time. There's just not enough time. Unless it turns out to be somebody like connected to whatever storyline is happening this season. Like somebody from the Phantom Zone, maybe, if that's what's happening this season, is behind Leviathan. But in that case, would that even make sense? I don't think it would, but
they did early on. There was a rumor that there was a casting call out for somebody, I think, named Rosemary. If anybody in the chat remembers anything about that. So I don't know if that, I haven't pieced it together until we were talking just now that maybe that could have been the head of Leviathan. I think that's probably just kind of a fake name so that they don't release it out, whoever the head of Leviathan is in the casting calls. But that we may have a head of Leviathan coming. I definitely think they need to tell us who that is, because that's a huge unanswered question that they talked about her a lot in the finale.
They did.
Pencil Skirt referenced her several times. So whoever's above Pencil Skirt, I want to know who that is, because Pencil Skirt, I know you maybe didn't like Pencil Skirt as much, but I loved Pencil Skirt. And if somebody is better than Pencil Skirt, I want to know who that is. So that is something I am very
I want to see the org chart for Leviathan. I want to see who's at the top of that org chart. Like, who's calling the shots there?
And also, I'm kind of confused because didn't Pencil Skirt get wrapped up into the bottle just like Ramakan and his buddies?
I think
so. Would all of Leviathan be in there? So would the head of Leviathan go into the bottle?
Well, do we know who the head of Leviathan? Like, wouldn't they have had to like get her into the bottle somehow?
Well, I kind of imagine
they need to know who she was to pop her into the bottle.
But I assumed that they were all part of that like alien species. Because didn't we find out that the Leviathan was all like the same species of people, of alien race?
That's right. I forgot about that.
I guess it could be based on their DNA, maybe?
I remembered when Pencil Skirt got really mad at the end and she turned into like a Pencil Skirt monster.
I thought that was awesome. I was
really
like,
cool.
This is the greatest thing. And then they I think they had her go into the bottle. So I don't know if we're gonna see her again. So I don't know. I don't know what they do with the head of Leviathan if it's part of the alien race. So they're really gonna have to answer that question, because I have a lot of questions about the head of Leviathan.
Yeah, Daryl says Gamemne's human skin got torn off, and now she's just a scary robot lady.
I still love her. I still love Pencil Skirt.
I maybe like her more now that she's a scary robot lady. But we know that I love the scary robot ladies. Yes, that's been well established.
Scary robots are kind of your thing.
It's kind of my genre.
I think the last time I heard her name pronounced, it was Gemini.
Oh, that's right. That's right, Gemini.
Or that still doesn't seem right when you look at it.
It doesn't, though, does it?
Gamemne looks right, but
I think
they said Gamine. Yeah. So Nicole makes a good point. Gemma was a robot version of the Angelica doll from Rugrats. I remember us talking.
Yes,
because she had all those like hair sticking out.
It's so good.
Donna did confirm she did not go into the bottle. I swear something affected her though. When
Like
after
Ramakant was definitely in that bottle. I was following his character journey very closely.
but she was like in the Catco office, like,
Oh
like,
yeah, like she's getting electrocuted.
so I just assumed she was getting sucked into the bottle too. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know what's going to happen with that. So
She's
if
still
that-
on the loose. She's still on the prowl.
if that's not the case, is she just like short circuiting? What is happening to her then? So that's very strange. They did not do a great job explaining what was happening in the
It
season
turns
5.
out that condensing 3 episodes into 1 episode isn't always the best choice.
It's maybe not. Donna says she lost her skin. I do remember that, but the shaking in the office is what made me think she was getting sucked into the bottle. So, but everybody is disagreeing with me in the chat, saying she did get stuck in the bottle. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just misinterpreted that scene. It's very well possible. So glad to have some confirmations on that. But then that opens more questions for me, though.
It's going to, yeah.
Because if she doesn't get sucked into the bottle, why is it just Ramakant and his buddies? Is it like location? Like you have to be near the bottle to be sucked up into it?
Maybe the bottle's like a vacuum, and if you're not close by, it's not going to suck that dirt up in.
But then why did Brainy... because wouldn't Brainy want to get all of them and not just some of them?
You would think that, considering he's supposed to be the smartest character there ever was, but maybe he just built it with kind of a design flaw where it only gets the ones nearby.
Yeah, I don't know. So that opens a lot of questions for me if she didn't get sucked, because that sort of made sense to me. If he was sucking up all the Leviathan people and she got sucked in too, I'd be like, oh, well, that makes sense because they're all like they share the same like alien DNA. Like I can kind of make that make sense in my brain. So now if that's not the case, I don't know what the deal was going on with that.
Donna in the chat says that the first episode synopsis references a final battle with Leviathan. So it sounds like at the very least, we're going to get some of our Leviathan questions answered.
Hopefully. But then are they going to... I mean, I joked about introducing the head of Leviathan and killing her off in the same episode, but they may do that.
It seems very like what if that casting call for a Rosemary was like legit? It was not trying to hide anything. The head of Leviathan's name is Rosemary, and then they just kill her immediately.
I'm pretty sure it was Rosemary, but someone can fact check me on
They're
that.
like, Rosemary's been working at Leviathan for like 30 some years. She's really climbed the ranks.
Yeah, so that is something to look out for. How are they going to defeat Leviathan? I mean, I think they've already got most of it done for them. If Brainy has trapped some of them in the bottle, are they going to have
all of them?
But apparently not Pencil Skirt. Pencil Skirt might still be a threat, which now I'm kind of excited.
So I have a question from last season, and that is about Akrata.
Oh, yes.
What's up with her? Like, what's she gonna be? Is Julie Gonzalo? Because I've seen her tweet some stuff about the new season. Is she sticking around? Is she gonna be a character again this season? Is Andrea Rojas gonna be in the mix? And if so, in what way? Like,
she's not on the poster.
I kind of feel like her company got taken down. And does she still own Catco?
Well, that's if you take into the fact that real world circumstances of the fact that well, it wasn't Catco, it was Obsidian North.
Yeah.
That, almost mind control and killed everybody in the VR. So I assume she'll be fired from that position, maybe let go.
Like
that just seems like a thing that you may have to face a consequence for.
Yeah, I feel like you want to shut
career.
down that division that almost killed a lot of humanity by trapping them in VR. I mean, I'm not corporate America, but you think at the very least she's getting a golden parachute out of there. Like they don't want to keep her around. She's not the face of the company anymore, I would hope.
She's not going to be on those commercials that she's making all the time. Maybe she could still be the head of Catco, but I don't know if she's still got a job with Obsidian North. I feel like that company is maybe getting shut down.
So I guess my question about Andrea Rojas is twofold. One, what way does she make sense on the show anymore after season 5? And two, is the Akrata storyline gonna like? She still has powers. She still has like superpowers. Are they gonna have any influence on the story or the season?
She has powers of shadow, which they referenced, I think, in the season 5 finale. And it was irritating to rewatch that and realize that they did not work that into a Supergirl the movie reference, because that is something they say in Supergirl the movie with Selena and the monster that she creates. I don't see much of a purpose for her anymore. It's not that I don't like Julie Gonzalo. I'm still hoping for that huge Dallas reunion. So I would welcome her to stay if we can get other.
Rebecca,
Dallas
what if Rosemary is Judith Light?
That's we've been pitching this forever, that she would come on and be the big bad. Like that would be amazing.
But you don't even need to build up to that. A lot of other viewers, sure, will be like, it's kind of weird that it's just some random person. But for us and our listeners, not just some random person. It would be Dame Judith Light.
We have damed her on this one.
we have.
She would already have that built-in gravitas that would be good for like a big bad. I mean, I'm still hoping for it. But and in terms of a character, Andrea Rojas, I mean, I think she kind of came in, served her time as Lena's friend, and told that story. And I don't personally see a reason for her to be around. The season 6 poster didn't seem to care about her, so they squeezed everybody into that poster. So
they sure did.
So I mean,
that's not true. They didn't put William on there. They were like, "No, we're good."
Oh, that's true.
Poor William.
Well, then that's
no spot on the poster for him.
Well, then why try to put 10 people into the poster if you're not going to put everybody in there?
Oh, poor William.
That doesn't make any kind of sense to me. You either put everybody or nobody. That's how it should go.
You get one or all. Those are your choices.
You either do Supergirl or squeeze everybody in there. Yeah, so I think that's weird. But yeah, I don't know. I assume Andrea will still be around, but I don't see any storytelling need for her there. To go back to Rosemary, because we kind of briefly talked about that character. Donna says the Rosemary was for a season 6 villain, rumored to either be LaDama. I have no idea who that is.
You know who this person
Para
is?
Cardenas or Cardenas.
She sounds like an opera singer.
But I know Emerald Empress, who is the other person. That would make more sense to me. If Emerald Empress was the head of Leviathan, that would be a boss. I would be into that. Then you could also work into Legion of Superheroes in the final season. But we're going to have to look up LaDama on
So
Paro.
I
don't know who that is. Who is that, Morgan?
Looking this character up. She is this is in the Prime Earth, mind you. Thank you, DC Fandom Wiki. It says that she is she claims to be older than time itself. She's gone by many pseudonyms, like the Dame, Lady Styx, and the Lord/Queen of all beings and things. She's an enemy of the Blue Beetle and the Justice League.
Okay, those descriptions sound like maybe the head of Leviathan. That
also, in the 21st century, she took up residence in El Paso, a terrifying place, establishing herself
real
as
scary layer there.
Not El Paso, establishing establishing herself as a mob boss and quickly becoming Blue Beetle's enemy. She's done a lot of stuff.
So that
wait, hold on.
sense.
In the 30th century, she resurfaced as a galactic conqueror and tyrant. She's been
get that version
really busy. She's been really busy. Her army of scullions killed off half of the Justice League, forcing the survivors to run away while she easily took over the world, spread her rule across the galaxy, starting from El Paso, and brainwashed a group of teenagers in another reality, would have become the Legion of Superhero into being her slaves. Wait, as Supergirl and her team discovered, she isn't interested in ruling anything. She conquers a world and plays the benevolent despot until she gets bored, usually quickly and easily, and then she burns it to ashes. One of her minions claims she could annihilate the League at any time or have prevented their existence, but they amuse her. Interesting.
How have I never heard of this character before? She seems like she's very threatening to big characters.
Yes, right? So she first appeared as part of New 52 DC
Oh,
Universe in Blue Beetle, volume 8, number 1. So she's either first appeared, although I will say this Wikipedia entry says that she first appeared both in Blue Beetle volume number 7 and also in Blue Beetle volume number 8. So somewhere thereabouts between 7 and 8, she pops up in El Paso. So
I'm a little mixed on that because it sounds like a cool character and it sounds like it would work for the head of Leviathan, but also, could we get a Supergirl character on this show?
Supergirl is mentioned in that description. Strangely enough, her mention just kind of comes out of nowhere. Now, Rebecca, does this change you anything? Because here's her pull quote from the DC.fandom.com wiki. It's, "But the queen of all beings and things transcended ridiculous human emotions 100,000 years ago." Does that make you more excited about her?
She does seem like an over-the-top villain I could be
100,000 years ago, Rebecca.
Well, the Leviathan characters have been around a long time. They are immortal, or immortal, I should say. So that would line up. But man, just want a Supergirl character. Yeah, why is it so hard to do?
Would be great, definitely.
But yeah, I guess that could be. Daryl says Emerald Empress is way more tied to the Legion than she has ever been to Supergirl. That's not necessarily true. She was in Rebirth. She gave Supergirl a big time in Rebirth. And she's also Supergirl went up against Emerald Empress in Justice League Unlimited in some of those episodes with the Justice League. So that could be the case. I don't know. Yeah, this is I think we have a guest star on Supergirl Radio. Is that Beaker?
Beaker has very complicated feelings about this casting news. He's like, he also often feels like an immortal being who is the conqueror of the universe. So he relates to her in like a really very visceral way. He is the mob boss of this house. So it's not quite El Paso, but it'll have to do.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll have to see if he succeeds in any of his mobster shenanigans that he's got going on. Well, I guess we should get to some listener emails because I want to apologize that we had took so long to address these emails from season 5, but this is the perfect time to do it now. To help us remember.
Refreshing ourselves, and we're going to talk about the emails of the show that we remember again a little bit.
Now this is actually really appropriate. So we've been hanging on to these emails until the right time, and so now is the time. So we have an email from Redlocks27 who wrote in to share some thoughts about Immortal Kombat, which was the season 5 finale, saying, "Quote: I would like to, and Morgan, if you want to pop up the actually I can pull it up right now, the blood spatter." Just so we can look at William's injury while we talk about it. So Redlocks27 says, "I would like to voice an observation about the scene with William and Eve. The blood stain on his shirt after she shoots him is not accurate as compared to what would actually happen realistically. I know this is a show, but I am still picky since I have a certification on blood stain pattern analysis. Eve is probably standing at a maximum 7 yards away with a handgun and hits him conveniently in the right shoulder. 7 yards to a trained assassin should be relatively easy to hit close to center, with point being she could have shot him center chest or even in the head. For the record, I'm glad she didn't." This listener goes on to say, "Next would be the stain itself. Blood is affected by gravity and how much is pooling at a certain rate. With William's injury, the stain should be pooling at the entrance and then drain downward. Think of spilled water on an angled surface, then placing a napkin on it. The stains seen on the shirt are small and circular in nature, which corresponds to a drip pattern along with a cast-off pattern. Basically, I could tell the makeup artist took a pipette, which I didn't know was a thing, took a pipette of fake blood and put several drops on his shirt and maybe tried to fling some of them at an angle, creating the cast-off pattern. The shape of how circular they are tells me that it was done relatively close to an 80-degree angle, suggesting they had the shirt laying down on a surface and placed the fake blood on it. If the bullet went through and through, there should be blood on his back, as well as in a later shot he is seen with none." Also,
that's a good point as well.
Also, when Kara pulls apart apart his shirt, his injury is a little exaggerated. The wound looked more like an exit wound, what should be on his back, or what it would look like if Eve shot him point blank. From 7 yards, it is still very close, but would not cause that type of damage, in my opinion. The handgun looks like a 9mm or 40mm. The entrance hole would be relatively small, and the exit would be more exaggerated due to the force of the bullet and force of energy. Although this is a lot of information, I was impressed by the writer's creativity to have Kara cauterize the wound, and that they would actually put a small hole in his shirt. Unquote. Ooh, lots of information.
I love this person so much. As somebody who listens to like a truly frightening amount of true crime podcasts, like I want to know like so much more about their blood splatter analysis. I'm like, wait, what?
Please, the user, the emailer is redlocks27. If you're on Twitter, a lot of people, if you're listening to this, a lot of people in our chat want to follow you. So if you're on Twitter, I want to follow them. If you're on Twitter, please let us know what your Twitter handle is. But redlocks27 gave us a great blood spatter analysis for that scene, which is something I would not have picked up on for sure.
No, me neither. Does this mean that we have like a forensics consultant standing by as well?
I hope so. Hopefully we can call on redlocks27 for any kind of forensics analysis that might happen in season 6. Please let us know if there are other blood spatter analysis that you want to share with us. We'd be open to it. So this is pretty cool to know. I mean, I just looked at it and like, oh, he got shot. It's fine.
If we're watching something in season 6 and those forensics are wrong, I want you to write in and tell us about it, because that was amazing.
And we're not going to know, so we trust.
You could tell us almost anything.
we trust the experts on this. So thank you for sending that email in and letting us know all about that, because that's actually pretty fascinating.
I like that we're just going to add this new person onto our science team.
We're really gathering a good team of people. I think
we are. Yeah, we've got lawyers, we've got scientists. Now we have forensics experts.
If you have an expertise, we will take you on our Supergirl Radio expert team.
Okay, so we have an email from Ryan who writes, I found a timeline inconsistency, oh boy, that I thought you guys would love and might help your ongoing time slot battle with Superman and Lois. Thank you, Ryan. Any fuel to that fire. They've already bested us, though, I think.
They did.
Ryan goes on to say, I was scrolling through Netflix trying to find something to watch, and I saw Supergirl. I already watched Supergirl and have since it's premiered, but I stayed because the intro started playing. You know how when you wait for even a second on Netflix show and it starts giving you a promo for the show? Well, Supergirl's was just the beginning of the first episode, so I decided to watch it. During the intro, Supergirl states that her planet was destroyed 24 years ago, and that was when Clark was sent to live his life and when she went into the Phantom Zone. So since Supergirl is now entering its 6th season, let's say that it has been 6 years since the premiere. So Clark would have had to have been 24 in Supergirl's first season and now 30. His kids are 14, which was said in the pilot. So that means Clark somehow met Lois at the Daily Planet, then got married to her and had kids, all by 16. Which, listen, you're saying that makes no sense, but he is Superman, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's insane. Ryan goes on to say, which makes no sense. Therefore, I believe that Superman and Lois must take place in the future. This could give us a hint as to why Supergirl is no longer mentioned. Maybe at the end of this season, she ends up going to the future with the Legion of Superheroes. Frankly, that's the only thing that makes sense, because if you try and throw the crisis change things argument into it, that means the writers aren't speaking to each other on all of these shows and therefore refuse to acknowledge they are part of a shared universe. And for a show that made a whole section of their first episode special, sorry for bringing it up, Rebecca, I know it's a sore subject, towards acknowledging that they are part of this universe, I find it incredibly disrespectful to the fans and the characters, especially Supergirl.
I mean, when you line it out like that, that makes sense.
I like the idea that Clark is 30 in Superman and Lois, though. I think that's almost funnier.
I think a lot of the holes in all of this would be fixed if Supergirl went to the future.
He was like, I was 16 and I was working at the Daily Planet. And I met Miss Lane. Then we had a baby.
16-year-old Clark Kent would be really funny at the Daily Planet.
It would be so... Lois Lane is like, I don't know. There's just something about this kid. Like, it becomes a very inappropriate story if Clark is 16.
That takes all the romance out.
No.
But yeah, I think if they did send Kara to the future, that you could at least justify it that way. That this is some different timeline.
Nicole points out that this is Alex Danvers' academic history all over again.
Which makes no sense that she accumulated all of that knowledge and expertise by the time she was, 30?
Yeah.
She had all those degrees and everything.
Everybody on these shows is just a huge overachiever, just like Doogie Howser levels of brilliant at young ages.
Yeah, so the Superman and Lois timeline makes no sense. And so we don't know. There are people who think it's on a different Earth, and it could very well be. I would buy that too. But wasn't the whole purpose of Crisis to bring them all into one Earth?
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. And yet it seems like post-Crisis, some of the shows are like going out of their way to not mention the other shows. I mean, I haven't watched like Batwoman at all this season, but like I suspect that Batwoman doesn't remember that she's ever met Supergirl. Like, I don't think that in the first season there was like maybe one mention, but I don't know if there's been any mentions of any of the other, universes on the other shows. It doesn't.
I think Batwoman was using kryptonite somehow.
Yeah, that's right.
I wasn't caught up
towards the end of the season. I really have to catch up on this season.
But
there was a kryptonite aspect towards the end of the season, and then I don't know if that went anywhere in season 2. But it does.
Batwoman has all kinds of weird issues happening now because they recast Kate Kane. So who knows what's happening on that
now it's going to be Batwomen. It's going to be multiple Batwomans.
Who knows what's going on there? Jay says, wait, I pulled up the wrong comment. Where's Jay's comment? Really, I think it was 24 years before Kara's pod landed, and Kara is close to 30, and Clark is like in his late 30s or something. I mean, that's what it seems like. But when you factor in some of the actual history of the shows, then it becomes a little questionable.
So Daryl points out in Black Lightning, he mentions going to the Flash to get a device or something. So some of these shows still remember that the other shows exist. So that's good to know.
Yeah, we'll see if Supergirl recognizes anybody else as well for the final season.
It looks like kryptonite has popped up on Batwoman. So spoiler alert, but it seems like somebody got shot with a kryptonite bullet and has a kryptonite infection.
How does that infect a human?
Yeah, well, how would that be a huge problem for them? Would it?
I mean, maybe it could get. I think humans can get like radiation from kryptonite.
Yeah, that's. I mean, like in the comics, right? Lex has that kryptonite ring, and he eventually.
Yeah. I think he gets
cancer, or
I think that's
radiation poisoning.
Yeah, I think that's it. So, I mean, I guess there is a human effect to.
Jen in the comments says radiation poisoning. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, that's good to get caught up on Batwoman a little bit. So
the more we know. Well, it's interesting to know. Like I'm a whole season behind. I haven't watched any of this recent season, so it's cool to know that there's like some Supergirl-esque tie-ins, or at least kryptonite. Maybe that's Superman now.
Yeah, it's funny how there's a lot of Supergirl on a lot of other shows, and sometimes I get disappointed there's not a lot of Supergirl on Supergirl. But hopefully the final season will change that a little bit. All right, so let's get to an email from a listener named Nabiha. So I hope I pronounced that correctly. Nabiha sent us an email to say, quote, here are my thoughts on the Supergirl Season 5 finale, Immortal Combat. I like Alex's new costume, but I hate her makeup because it's a little over the top. But I guess it's to protect her identity. It's still better than a pair of glasses, though. Yeah, that will be something that we need a follow-up to on Season 6 as Alex's vigilantism.
Is it better than a pair of glasses? It's very blue.
It's And I guess maybe it still protects her identity. I guess. Would you still know it was Alex?
When she puts the hood over, I mean, I would say it does. It probably does make her look more different than glasses would, because when she puts up that hood and she's got the blue eye makeup on, she does just kind of like fade into the shadows.
Just cover her face, then you don't see anything. Let's see. Nabiha goes on to say, is it just me, or was there a scene where Alex was full CGI? Like when she was showing Kara her costume and then everyone barged in, we could see Alex from the back and she looked totally animated. I wonder why they added that. That did seem to be maybe a COVID thing.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a COVID thing, because it looked like suddenly I was playing like a video game, like it was like Call of Duty suddenly.
Yeah, it seemed very green screen to me. But I don't know. We'll if we ever get a chance to ask the wardrobe people, which I think the wardrobe people are high on my list for interviews, that would be something we could ask. Nabiha goes on to say, at last, Kara and Lena are on the mend. Yes, that does seem to be the case. Also, I'm glad that Kara finally told Lena what I've been screaming at her from my couch this whole season. She finally realized how petty she was being. Nabiha goes on to say, why couldn't Brainy tell the rest of the super team his plan to shrink Leviathan? I mean, if he knows where their headquarters are, how to get in, and a way to stop them, why is he still working with Lex? He could have told everything to the team, and then he could have had backup when he went into the torture room. Now, that's just asking too much for him to actually tell people what he's doing and ask for help. That seems that's a lot to ask.
Do you think there's going to be any repercussions, like for Brainy, as far as Team Supergirl, for him kind of going behind their backs and working with Lex and kind of not like kind of betraying them, like not 100% betraying them, but I mean, he did some shady things in hoping that he was going to be helping them, but
I think the consequence for him is probably going to be with Nia, because I think there's some stuff that Nia and Brainy have to work out, because she was like seeing visions of him doing things in that Leviathan room. So
yeah,
I think that's where maybe more of the consequences will be for that. And Donna also made a good point about the Alex point. I think someone said Kyler was sick when they filmed that episode, so maybe they had to go back and add it back in after the fact. So that could have been. So Nabiha, let's get through her points. I'm sorry, I might have assumed the gender there, but Nabiha said, "Do you expect me to believe that Supergirl got 1 billion people to log out of their dream world just by her speech? It was a good speech, but I'm sure there should be at least a few people who have been like, nope, I'm good here."
Yeah, absolutely. There's some people who are like, no, I mean, I'm just going to stay in the killer simulation.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I guess some people might have. So that was an individual choice everybody had to make, but everybody made it and everybody got out. Nabiha says, and why did she need such a big and emotional speech about how pain is important in the first place? All she needed to say is, in the simulation now, or you're literally going to die. That would have been enough for me. That's a good point. She could have taken a more direct approach.
She could have been like, this simulation is killing you. And I think a lot of people would have logged off at that point. but listen, she doesn't write these hope speeches at the beginning of the season for no reason. She's got them in her back pocket. She's going to use them.
She's a little more theatrical than she wants other people to know. Like, I think she likes doing the hope speeches. So she needed a little more flair for that one. No, it doesn't matter if it maybe takes more time and could waste time to get people out of there. She could have maybe taken a more direct approach and saved a little time. And so Nabiha's last points, I actually think the show did a pretty good job of wrapping up the season. At least in Supergirl, they were able to temporarily stop Leviathan. It was a much better finale than the Flash or Batwoman, where everything felt unresolved. And I'm a little upset that Lex is still there. Does that mean we will have 3 seasons with Lex as the big bad? I'm so tired of him, unquote. Nabiha, I think a lot of us feel the same way. So we'll see what they do with Lex in season 6. I hope he's not sticking around all season, but maybe he will. We'll have to see what they do with John Cryer.
It's been a lot of Lex.
It's been a lot of Lex. Not that I don't. I mean, we like Ducky Lex Luthor here on Supergirl Radio.
We love John Cryer's Lex Luthor. It's just when he starts to take over the show, we just go, it's maybe a little too much now.
Yeah, I think we could maybe spend some time with another villain for the final season.
So Paula sent us an email saying, I would like to point out 3 occasions when something has been flipped or reused in a new light. 1. Lena's lab. The lab is where Lena spent most of the season alone, working on Nana Cherry, plotting her questionably ethical plans. As such, it was a place of loneliness, bad choices, and darkness. In this episode, just as Lena made the choice to reach out to Kara, the lab turns into a place of hope. This is where Kara is kept safe. This is where Lena works on the life-saving suit. This is where Kara enters the VR to save humanity. And this is where all the heroes gather. Not the tower, Lena's lab. Ultimately, humanity is saved from the same place where humanity had previously been endangered. Where before there was loneliness, now there is support. Where before there was evil, now there is good. A reflection of Lena's journey. Oh, that made me like that so much.
Yeah, Paula's coming in with like some really good, deep analysis here. I like it.
For real. 2, Lena's speech to Andrea Rojas. This was an interesting parallel to the speech that Kara gave to Lena at the end of the 100th episode. Mainly the point that if she chose good, she would be welcome to the team, but if she chose evil, she'd be treated as a villain. Lena could have said anything to Andrea, but she chose to say something very similar to Kara's words. If you choose to go down this path, I will be there, she says, but if she chooses to kill Supergirl, they will be enemies. I think this was another way to show that Lena understands where Kara was coming from that night in her apartment. A speech from Kara now used by Lena. So that's also a good point.
Yes, a good parallel between them.
I'm liking these parallels. All right,
Yeah,
her
yeah.
last parallel, Eve Tessmacher. In a scene that seemed quite focused on Astaz's wonderfully toned chest, we had another flip. This time, Lena is pointing the gun at Eve. I may be wrong, but I think this Eve has never met Lena, although she must have fantasized about them being sisters-in-law at one point. Maybe there's a chance at a good relationship between the two. After all, at one point, they were best friends in another universe, and this Eve hasn't betrayed Lena. Hopefully, this Eve isn't too resentful at Lena for the gun pointing. This flip is a small one, but it has significance as well. As pointed out previously in regards to Lena's speech to Andrea, she's practicing at being in someone else's shoes, and maybe she's learned something about forgiveness from holding the gun. Now, this one did make me question some things. In this version, in this post-crisis universe, does Lena not know Eve Tessmacher?
I don't think so. It didn't.
Wow.
It seemed like she was kind of far off from the rest of them. That she had that Jeremiah Danvers mission, and that was kind of it. And, and I hope they don't get along with her. I like Eve when she's a betrayer. I like it when she, does a double cross and turns on them. So I kind of hope maybe if they don't know her very well, I hope that they get to know her and she double crosses
them yet again.
Yes.
Like, we never learn with her.
Yeah, Daryl says, I don't think Lena and Eve interacted post-crisis. So
that's wild. Because
something I didn't think about.
In season 3, they start working together in the lab? Or is it season 4?
They definitely, I think, in season 3, because I think Eve helped with the reins.
I think Eve helped with the reins
with the hair and owl. I think, yeah.
And Eve was around in season 2, right? Because
she's been around since season 1, I think.
I think
she was
so.
She was Kat's assistant
because she has like a little fling with Mon-El in season 2, I think.
Yes.
So, I think it was like season 3 that they were doing the science. They were doing the science experiments. So, does that mean that never happened in this post-crisis version of reality? Like, Eve was never in the lab with Lena?
I guess so.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's annoying.
That's really annoying because all that past history between Eve wasn't in season 1. Are we sure about that? Because she was like Kat's assistant.
I thought so, but I could be definitely wrong.
Which had to have been season 1, because Kat left after season 1 and only appeared in season 2 for a couple of times.
Oh, Abby points out that maybe Lena doesn't know Eve of this universe, but Lena has her past memories, which I forgot about.
Okay, say that again. Lena doesn't know Eve of this universe,
but she has her past memories. So she has her pre-crisis memories.
Lena does.
Lena does.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I'm so confused. Crisis is really so confusing.
Now I'm confused about season 1. Am I misremembering everything about Eve Tessmacher?
Well, Kara
Am
was
I-
Kat's assistant in season 1.
But at some point, Eve took over that.
Did she?
Did she?
Did she?
What? She did something at Catco. I remember her being at Catco and interacting with Cat Grant. Am I just bonkers? Have I
think
lost
she
it?
was at Catco. Maybe she was like the second assistant, like the backup assistant.
What did she do at Catco then?
Like they had in The Devil Wears Prada, like the second girl on the desk.
I swear she used to go get Cat Grant lunch and stuff like that.
Huh.
Kara was hard to replace her as Kat's assistant.
Oh, okay. Okay. I buy that. So like at the end of season 1, so maybe maybe Eve was like a starting in season 2 character.
Okay, somebody's
Does that feel right?
I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to do a rewatch because I swear I thought Eve Tessmacher was with Kat at some point.
Rogue Artist here says a Kat stayed for 2 episodes in season 2. Oh, okay, Eve was the assistant of Kat after Kara left the job.
Okay,
so you're right.
So at the beginning of season 2,
but it had to have been the beginning of season 2 then.
That feels short to me.
I feel like Eve's been with us all along.
Did Eve not appear in season 1? That's crazy. I thought she was there the whole time. Okay, maybe this is why I'm misremembering. So Eve was James's assistant too.
Oh.
She also shot James in the back when he was in his office, his home office.
That's right. Eve is brutal.
Okay, maybe that's where my mind is misfiring, is that I remember her being somebody's assistant at Catco, and I just assumed
and you remember betrayal.
I did remember a betrayal. Okay, thank you all for clearing that up for me, because I was so confused. I was like, wait, what? How? Clearly, I need to revisit season 1.
That the post-crisis universe, in the post-crisis universe, Lena and Eve have never like really worked together in the lab. Like that was a big part of season 3 and 4. I feel like.
Yeah, definitely season 3,
and then season 5 when she was a robot. She's been working in that lab for a long time.
Yes. So I think the takeaway that I'm taking away from this episode is I need to rewatch season 1 in a big way. I thought I knew season 1, but apparently not as well as I thought I did. So that's really good to know. So we're learning a lot about Eve. We're learning a lot about their early seasons that we've clearly forgotten. But it's so hard to remember sometimes with the post-crisis, pre-crisis. Like, what do they remember? What are their memories? What are they doing now? So I'm very confused. So that is good to know. All right, so I guess we'll get into Joseph's email really quickly. So Joseph wrote in to share some thoughts on the season 5 finale, writing, quote, "The Lena and Kara stuff is all great and really makes the season worthwhile, and is something that can fully be said to wrap up without any more episodes. It was nice to see Magon again, and I thought the Martian interactions were wonderful as always. I do wish Malefit could have come back, and maybe he was intended to come back in the final episode so it could come full circle and not just have his story in the first half and do nothing else with him. I do wish Andrea's development was given a little more attention. Jesse Rath gets his juicy material here, and he does well. I think his story was wrapped up pretty well, even though it's clearly not done yet. Alex's costume idea has to grow on me, but starting to find her purpose outside of the DEO, as that's likely a place that won't be coming back. R.I.P. Director Bones theory. If it leads to more Alex and Jean episodes, I'm all for it. Unsure about putting on a costume, as she is the one that was part of Kara's sanctuary apart from Supergirl. We'll see how they work it out before Judgment. All the Harry Potter stuff were nice beats to it. I don't know if you remember that. They did the sort of multiple Harrys at the beginning of the finale, where they kind of all became Supergirl and then went out to distract.
That was fun.
So that's what Joseph is talking about. Even though I'm not a big Potter fan myself, but the beats were clear. With the one they referenced in the beginning with the different Supergirls, the other was a little less obvious, with Brainy asking his other Earth counterpart to stay with him until the end. Oh, and I guess Morgan can be vindicated partially with Gemma's 2 ways of her name. Last thing suppose I'll say is that I think they have a little trouble knowing what to do with Miss Tessmacher without repeating beats from the first Christopher Reeve film, but she still does well well with what she's given. Overall, not a bad end at all for what is obviously not intended to be, unquote. So a lot of good thoughts from Joseph. And I think especially in terms of Malefic. Malefic,
Yeah.
I sometimes I forget he was in season 5 just so early on.
It was so long ago now, the beginning of season 5, and I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have intentions to bring him back in those last 3 episodes, but when you have to combine them down to 1, I think he might have hit the cutting room floor. So I wonder if maybe we'll see a little bit of him in this premiere.
Yeah, they could wrap up the Martian storyline, because I think Malefic is still out there somewhere.
Yeah.
So maybe we can follow back up with him and see if he has anything to do with Magan and Jean.
So Susan wrote in to share some of what she thinks changed between season 1 and season 5, saying, season 1 was a show with a strong female lead, Supergirl / Kara Danvers, and everything revolved around or connected to that character in some way. Now it seems like they have turned it into a giant ensemble. For example, all the characters in season 1 had some connection to and were defined by their relationship to Kara. Alex was her sister and primary emotional support, the person Kara turned to when she needed grounding. Wynn was the tech nerd, but also Kara's best friend, and occasionally guy who had a crush on her and figurative little brother to Alex. James was a moral center for Kara, who has a history with Clark and briefly a Kara love interest. Kat was Kara's boss. Hank Jean was a potential villain, mentor, and father figure to Kara. Each of these characters existed to support Kara / Supergirl story in some way. That allowed the show to center on Kara, with everyone else having some stories and character development, but not too much was necessary because they were there to be supporting players. It was a show about a strong female hero and those supporting her, and that structure left room for the show to be about her. Now we have an ensemble with a bunch of characters that seem to exist in their own space. Servicing each of them takes time away from Supergirl / Kara, but there are so many of them that everyone seems to get short shrift. And because the universe of characters isn't built around their connection to or relationship to Kara, servicing them also takes time away from what the show is supposed to be about, Supergirl. Season 5 went even further, with the show almost turning into a show about Lex. John Cryer is a wonderful Lex Luthor, but a show centered around a male villain is not what I signed up for.
That's a really good point about how earlier seasons did stories that were connected to Kara. Like, all the characters were more connected to Kara than she was, letting them have it was definitely structured differently, to where everyone was connected to Kara, and now they all have their different stories and are not as connected to Kara anymore. And so it does give that extra weight of having to give them make sure everybody has their own stories. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, I think that's a really solid point, that they were kind of in season 1, kind of spokes on a wheel, and they all connected back to her. And at this point in the season, they're all over the place. They've got their own stories and their own development. And sometimes that's not even remotely close to what Kara is up to or what she's doing. So yeah, it's very different. The storytelling over time has become.
And it's not like that other formula for the show to have everybody connected to Kara makes the other characters any less of characters. I mean, I think they were actually pretty strong. They had strong characterizations, even though they were mostly in service of the Kara character. They still had emotions and journeys and storylines of their own. It just was more focused on the Kara, and especially in season 1, Kara and Alex. Although clearly I've forgotten a lot about season 1, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But I think that's a good way to look at it, is the different kind of ways of writing the show, the different approaches to it. All right. Well, I think that's going to kind of wrap it up on our emails. Looking back at season 5, I remembered a lot of things, refreshed my mind on a lot of things. Thank you to everybody in the chat for helping me remember things. This is why I have to take a lot of notes. People don't understand. They're like, Rebecca, why do you do all those Google Docs? This is why, because I have a terrible memory. So.
And I'm not coming in remembering anything, so I'm not helpful at all.
So this is why that is the case. All right, so I think that's going to do it for our look back at the season 5 finale. Trying to just remember what happened in the finale so that we go into season 6 maybe kind of knowing what we're talking about. We'll see if that is the case. So I think that's going to do it for us there. But let's get to some plugs. If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252 and make sure to write and call in before Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW's Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. You can find links to everything I just mentioned on supergirlradio.com on the right side of the page. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you are in need of some new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Supergirl Radio, Superman and Lois Radio, The Flash Podcast, and Legends of Tomorrow Podcast, Black Lightning Podcast, Batwoman Podcast 2, and Titans and Doom Patrol Podcast just for you, Justice League Dark Podcast, Green Lantern Podcast, Stargirl Podcast, Strange Adventures Podcast, and finally my favorite of the bunch, DC TV After Dark, where you're allowed to say fuck.
You are allowed to say those kinds of words on DC TV After Dark.
You didn't drop any of them though.
No, I was recently on DC TV After Dark, and I have my own cuss words that I like. That are not really cuss words, but they're my substitution for a swear word of some kind.
Yeah, your favorite swear word was one of my all-time favorites that we've had on the show, just for originality.
It's I really I have a bonding situation with Kenneth the Page from 30 Rock, because he and I have a lot of the same approaches to language, I guess. So that's how I approach swear words. Is what would Kenneth the Page say? That's kind of how I go about it.
And speaking of DC TV Podcast TeePublic store, which we were just speaking of it, we've got some Lex Luthor designs.
Yeah, so if you're reflecting on the season 5 finale and Leviathan and what Lex Luthor was up to, you can go buy some Lex Luthor stuff in the TeePublic store if you're into it. It's usually very green, because Lex Luthor does like the color green. So we do have some Lex designs in there if you so desire.
You should have gotten it for St. Patrick's Day. You could have been sporting some Lex for St. Patty's. But guess what? It comes around next year, too. Be prepared this time.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. Why didn't I ever think of that? Kryptonite-related things, Lex Luthor-related things. That's you're not going to get pinched that day if that's the case. And we would like to thank our Supergirl Radio patrons. We have a Patreon account. I guess we just have account is not the right way. We have a Patreon that you can go and support us if you would like at patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. So we'd like to give a shout out to our Legion of Super sponsors: Michael, Sam, Anne Marie, Grout, Yvonne, Quinn, Jessica, Nicola, Leslie, the Supergirl Radio legal consultant, Abby, Irmgard, Miriam, Cherie, Donna, Nicole, Lizeth, and Deb. So thank you all for helping us keep the lights on at Supergirl Radio with all of our many fees that we have with Libsyn and StreamYard and Wave and all sorts of things. So you literally keep the podcast going. So we really appreciate your support. And we've been doing some, if you're a $5 and up a month. So we have the patron levels here. We have a $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, and $25 a month. You get different things for all of those membership levels. And this week, we are going to be reviewing our first quarterly review for the $5 and up level. We're going to be reviewing Batman Mask of the Phantasm. We're
A classic.
because we can't get enough of Batman.
We love Batman. It's my goal to have Batman and everything, and so that's why we're starting strong with some Batman.
It's actually the first DC animated film.
Mike told me that. I was like, why are we starting with this one? I mean, I'm never gonna disrespect Batman, Bats, my man Bats like that, but it's like, oh, this is the first one.
It might do us good to kind of go through the animated universe just to see what all is there, so we can learn a little bit. It's good to learn about Supergirl, but maybe we should dig our heels into the wider DC universe. So we're going to be talking about Batman Mask of the Phantasm, a classic Batman animated film. So if you are one of our patrons, you'll get to hear that this week. All right. And I guess if you want to keep up with me, you can find me on Instagram at The Derby Kid. And I'm also on YouTube at youtube.com/duckmilkprod. Hopefully I'll get some new content on the YouTube. I just put out something last week, so give me some time. I'm trying to get some stuff up there. But you can definitely subscribe in case you want any Snyder Cut content, or you can go look at my travel videos, my Dragon Con videos. I got some things up there. If you just want to
remember travel,
just go into the archives and travel with me as I go to Disney World and Alaska and Europe. I'm going to
do that just to pretend I leave the house now.
So you can go with me on a cruise. I go on a cruise in one of those videos. So you can just, follow me on all of my adventures. So you can find that kind of thing on my YouTube channel as well.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Mojotastic. And you can also find me as a co-host on the Legends of Tomorrow podcast. We just released our feedback episode for the queer representation in media episode that we did in June of last year. We like to get to your feedback right away is the thing. I felt so bad. So I wrote everybody to make sure that they were okay with us reading it on the podcast, and everybody was like, I forgot I wrote you this email. And I was like, I'm sorry, we never forgot about you. We're just so tired.
Well, the pandemic made everything weird.
The pandemic really threw it off. But that was a really fun episode. We actually did a live stream much like this one. So that was fun. We had a lot of nice feedback in the chat and everything like that. And you can also find me on DC TV After Dark, which the episode just dropped, episode 5, which you will also find my co-host Rebecca here on. We had Rebecca on. We talked about Supergirl and we talked about DC stuff. We made her come up with instant stories,
which I'm so bad at.
It's a really tough one. It's like basically just on your feet improv. It's not easy.
It's not easy. But y'all gave some good prompts. I'm so bad at it. But that was a lot of fun. Thank you for letting me talk about photography. And I talked a little bit about some video projects I want to do with my brother, and some places that we've been. So I had we had a very important mermaids versus werewolves.
We're continuing the debate about mermaids versus werewolves that began right here on this podcast.
Yes, it did actually.
But it will continue. I think it's going to live on in on After Dark, because I think we're split down the middle now on the werewolf versus mermaids debate, and so we're going to need some more people to weigh in.
And I think I think we talked about if you want to give some stakes to a debate, no, not a debate, a bet about what the winning team should get or what the losing team should have to do. The stakes to a bet. Email DCTV After Dark.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. we want a winning and a losing team. Otherwise, what's the point? If this isn't competitive in some way, like I'm out. So it was a really fun conversation, and I think everybody who listens to Supergirl Radio would really enjoy it. It was kind of like a Supergirl Radio reunion. So.
I did get to go into the Morgan Glennon podcast universe.
Exactly. So, yeah. The extended universe. So if you follow DC, subscribe to DC TV After Dark, our posting schedule is like question mark, maybe. So the best way to find out when a new episode drops, besides following us on social media, is to just subscribe, and it'll appear as if by magic in your podcast feed at some point during the year. So that's the promise we make to you.
It's a great gift to see one of those episodes pop up and
randomly drop.
And we should also remind everybody that Morgan and I are both on a podcast called The Fakest, which is a sketch comedy show that is in its final season, much like Supergirl. So The Fakest is wrapping up. Really funny stuff. Morgan does a lot of fun voices. I basically just play myself, so it's not really original. But a lot of great characters, a lot of funny things and situations. So if you're into laughing, I would give it a shot because The Fakest is pretty good. Our friend Bill Meeks writes it and edits it himself. And so there's a lot of familiar voices. You might also hear Amy from the Legends of Tomorrow podcast cackling her way through the story. So you can definitely check that out if you would like. Anywhere you get podcasts, and you can also go to thefakest.com. Fakest with an I also, I should specify. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl. I think we're prepped. We're ready to go.
I think we're refreshed.
I think I just need to go back to see. I didn't go far enough back.
You got to go all the way back to season 1.
I really should have thought about it if I had. I wanted to do that before the final season, but then it like crept up on us, and I was like, we had no advance notice that this final season was going to begin until like 2 weeks ago. So now I don't even really have the opportunity to go back, even if I wanted to. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, and I guess I should mention next time is going to be on Thursdays now, right?
Yes. Next time we have lost the time slot war.
Yes,
with
unfortunately.
Superman and Lois. I'm not saying they fought dirty, but they did.
They totally did
by scheduling our own show against us. And so at that point, we did have to flinch. So we're going to be on Thursdays from now on, but it'll be the same fun, just a different day of the week.
Yeah, so Thursdays from now on, so you'll still get the Supergirl Radio on Thursdays, just in a different way, in a live stream
format.
You'll probably get the audio on Fridays, I'm guessing, at this point. But just so everybody knows, that's probably the plan for now. So that'll go into effect next week. So that's going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, which will be next Thursday, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon.
And we have just one more week until the final season of Supergirl.
DCTV podcast. There's too many now! Exclamation point. Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Oh no!
Yeah.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Is Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. It's so fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yeah!